What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from Pink Tourmaline. And this video is my first video about this amazing book that, thank you guys in the comments once again, that people recommended multiple times to read, which is called Alien-Interview. And if you guys aren't familiar with this book, it's written from letters from somebody named Matilda O'Donnell McElroy. And these are her purported accounts from 1947. So around, I think it's from the specifically an interaction with an entity from the Roswell crash. So we're getting deep into UFO lore here. And she was a nurse, and for whatever reason, based on her accounts, based on how far I've read so far, I'm about a third of the way through the book, I think, roughly. I don't even remember exactly. I'm just guessing by the depth of the amount of pages that I've read thus far. I don't remember what page I'm on. But from what I've gathered thus far, she was a nurse working on that military base at the time of the aircraft, the vehicle was downed, and for whatever reason, the entity alien, if you will, only wanted to communicate with her telepathically, of course. And so she wasn't an interpreter. She wasn't there for that purpose at the base. She was simply a nurse. But then they ended up having her communicate with the alien because the alien she was the only one that she would communicate with. So this is her story, and she was contacted by a gentleman. This is all in the introduction. She was contacted by a gentleman to tell her story, and she said, no, I don't know what you're talking about, or didn't really want anything to do with revealing what she knew. And then all of a sudden, this journalist one day got a letter from Ireland, or a package from Ireland, and it was all of these letters and all of these details regarding her time with the alien and everything that she learned and recounted. And she said, I was afraid to say this because there was threats made, and this information was meant to be kept secret. But the burden of having this information and keeping it from humankind eventually became too much, and I figured I need to get this out there. And I think she sent this around the time she was 80 years old, something like that. And I think after it was received, she had just passed away or something like that. It was near or around the time of her death that these documents were finally sent over to this journalist. I should mention, by the way, that there's an editor's note at the beginning that says they believe this to be a work of fiction or something like that. I'm not sure if that in and of itself is not convincing that the editor truly believed it was a work of fiction. I also wonder if maybe that was the way that they had to position it themselves, or you had to put some sort of forward in there, maybe so that it could get published without major issues. Again, this is just a theory, but take it for what it's worth. And I obviously don't know. I'm merely just judging, or merely just guessing. But it sure as heck, from what I've read so far, is absolutely fascinating, and I cannot wait to read more. And I'm going to tell you why I can't wait to read more as we get into some of the details and some of the things that I've read, because at least what it claims at the beginning, this book may have a lot of answers to the major questions of this channel, mainly what is the purpose of life. So without further ado, I'm going to share some of the excerpts that I've gathered from the first third of this book and kind of walk you through what's in it and why I'm so excited. And also, we're going to talk about some of the intersection points. I've talked about this before in other videos. The intersection points always tend to be the richest areas when you're researching anything. Oh, I read that there. I also saw the same thing here. I saw the same thing in that other video, in this other book. And then you keep seeing these themes come up over and over, and that just adds credibility to particular ideas or notions. And those are the things that really stand out in your mind when you're going about researching anything. So when you stumble across those, or when I stumble across those, I get extra excited. And that definitely happened a couple times already in this book. So let's get in here. I love this little quote at the very beginning, talking about, this is her McElroy's letter to the journalist that was receiving these things. She's saying, hey, listen, one thing I would say you could do when if you're releasing these letters, just say it's a work of fiction, and that way you won't get so much scrutiny, or people won't, and you can still disseminate this to the masses, but then people won't come after you or try to discredit it, something like that. She was just giving these recommendations. But then she says something really, really cool that I'm always going to remember. Okay, so anyways, let's read this paragraph. She goes, in so doing, you could disavow any knowledge of their true origin, meaning the material contained herein, and claim that it is a fictitious work of your imagination. Whoever said that truth is stranger than fiction was right as rain. I mean, this is, if you guys have been studying this type of stuff for any amount of time, you'll know that you're kind of in this domain now too, where whatever fiction stuff we've seen in the movies or read in books, the truth seems to be 1,000 times stranger and wilder than any works of fiction. For most people, all of this will be unbelievable. Unfortunately, here's the key: beliefs are not a reliable criteria for reality. How powerful is that? Whether we're talking about scientific beliefs or religious beliefs or whatever beliefs you may hold, they are not a reliable criteria for reality. God, that's something that we all need to bear in mind. Hey, I don't think this is true because I believe that blah, blah. No. Throw that out. Let's just look at accounts. Let's look at witness testimony. Let's look at the best we can for these corroborating accounts, and not rely so heavily on these beliefs, however they've been formed, as we're going through and trying to analyze this type of information. So that was a really cool thing when I read this. Another thing, this is super, super cool. So this is why I can't wait to finish this book. Listen to this paragraph of what she previews of what's to be revealed later on. Mankind needs to know the answers to questions which are contained in these documents. Who are we? Where did we come from? What is our purpose on Earth? Is mankind alone in the universe? Which I think if you're watching this video and you're on this channel, you probably already know the answer, that we are absolutely not. If there's intelligent life elsewhere, why have they not contacted us? It is vital that people understand the devastating consequences to our spiritual and physical survival if we fail to take effective action to undo the long-standing and pervasive effects of alien intervention on Earth. So that's very interesting, saying that maybe there's some negative effects of the alien intervention. We're going to come back to that. Sanskrit and vimanas. So this is very interesting too. I don't have the exact section here, but the entity does claim that he hadn't been back since like 6,000 BC or something, or 3,000 BC. I can't remember exactly, but that the language, the entity had to learn English throughout the process of this interview, but the language that the entity was familiar with up to this point was Sanskrit. And I thought this was wild. So now this is another time. It says several million years ago, I was trained and served as an investigation, data evaluation, and program development officer for the domain. Because I was experienced in that technology, I was sent to Earth as part of a search team. One of the duties involved the interrogation of human population that inhabited the adjoining area at that time. Not sure what that means, adjoining area. Many of the people in that region reported sighting vimanas or spacecraft in the area. Now, this stuck out to me because vimanas is something in some of these Sanskrit ancient Hindu texts, and notably the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, as mythical flying palaces, chariots, or vehicles used by gods and heroes. So they considered to be mythological, but they are often depicted as advanced aerodynamic and even spherical aerial machines capable of interstellar travel, sometimes interpreted by enthusiasts as ancient UFOs or lost technologies. I mean, what else would that be? A flying craft or a flying chariot? But we see this in multiple across like multiple ancient texts, or even in paintings, these flying chariots or flying crafts. So I just thought this was really cool that in this interview, this is even mentioned and the word vimanas is brought up. This is one of those overlaps, right? I made another video talking about this guy referring to souls as OBEs. Maybe this is the origin of the term. I'm not sure, but listen to this. Personally, this is from the ET. Personally, it is my conviction that all sentient beings are immortal spiritual beings. This includes human beings. For the sake of accuracy and simplicity, I will use a made-up word, is-be, because the primary nature of an immortal being is that they live in a timeless state of is, and the only reason for their existence is that they decide to be. No matter how lowly their station in a society, every is-be deserves the respect and treatment that I myself would like to receive from others. Each person on Earth continues to be an is-be, whether they are aware of the fact or not. We are all immortal. So cool. Now, this is another cool thing too, because the alien actually induces an out-of-body experience from McElroy in this section. This is wild. Lord Jesus and Holy Father, I've never thought of a woman as an immortal spiritual being either, not even the Holy Mother Mary. Yet when Errol thought that, the Errol is the name of the entity, okay, I became vividly aware for the very first time that she personally was an immortal spiritual being, and so are we all. Errol said that she sensed I was confused about the idea. She said she would demonstrate to me that I am also an immortal spiritual being. She said, be above your body. which also ties into Adventures Beyond the Body, these statements of intent to lift you out of your body. So cool. Immediately, I realized that I was outside of my body, looking down from the ceiling at the top of my body's head. I was also able to see the room around me, including Errol's body sitting in the chair next to my own body. After a moment, I realized the simple but shocking reality that I am not a body. So cool. Again, the overlaps are wild. So this is where I'm at so far in this book. And as I've mentioned, because some of the dots are connecting with other information that I've read so far, watched so far, things like that, I'm really blown away. And in terms of this idea of understanding the purpose of life on Earth and so on and so forth, that may be contained within these pages. I'm just like so eager every day to keep reading this. I imagine I'm going to rip through the rest of this book by early or mid next week. So I'm going to do a follow-up video on this book. But again, thank you to the people that recommended this book to me. I didn't really know what to expect. It's very interesting thus far, and I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.